The first international conference on investment in forests in the Baltic Sea region countries, Invest in Forest, is a major event for all Europe, according to Alexander Stralmaks, a partner in Catella Corporate Finance. The two-day conference brought together professionals from the forest and related industries in Europe, as well as a representative from the European Union.
There are many conferences which are very specific to the industry or very specific to the civic culture treatment. There is no generic conference covering a broad variety of issues which are important for forest owners. And this was something that we identified and started up in Riga.
Several speakers at the conference said investing in forest assets was safer and more profitable than investments in oil and gold. The CEO of the Estonian state forest company, Aigar Kallas, who presented a report on the impact of bioenergy subsidies on timber flow, agrees that such investments have huge potential. Commenting on the development of forestry in the Baltic countries, Kallas says,
"What I certainly hope is that there will be more use locally for the timber that we've grown. And this is exactly what we've seen in the case of Estonia, that well, partly through the subsidization, partly through other regions, there have been more timber harvested and there has been more timber consumed locally. Some people don't like it, well, because people say that if you burn timber, then it's not a good thing. But I think it's still a better thing to do than to just send it off abroad. And I do certainly see that this trend is continuing in all three Baltic countries.
Given that investors are increasingly often looking for safe investment opportunities, forestry may be considered one such opportunity, says Magnus Vaikert, Business Development Manager of the International Woodland Company. He says investors consider the Baltic Sea region countries attractive for investment for several reasons.
I think the attractiveness for the Baltic Sea region is the pricing versus some of the Western European countries, the proximity to Western European markets, and also there being a EU country with euro and sort of providing a reasonable entry point, but where there still is scope for pricing to come closer to Western European levels.
Sustainable environmental management was another important problem analyzed by high-level international experts at the conference. Count Carl Gustav Wachtmeister, chairman of the Danish company Ingleby Farms and Forests, says that forestry and farming is about catching solar energy and transforming it into food, fiber, or fuel.
I see the land as the basic value. It's the land that we use for different purposes. And in that view, you have to, as I see it, be sustainable. Otherwise, you cut off something. I mean, you don't go in and, as I see it, you don't go in and plant something which you then destroy 3 years after. You want to see it start producing, and of course also the environmental factor about the CO2 emissions, of course, where the forestry is the biggest contributor on Earth. So I see it as a very, very intermingled parameter in the management of forest and farming. It's the environmental and the long-term view.
The first international conference on investments in forests in the Baltic Sea region countries, Invest in Forest, was organized by Invest Forest in cooperation with Areal, the largest private investment mediation company in Sweden, and the leading corporate financial and capital market services and consulting company, Catella Corporate Finance.